With the master tactician Pep Guardiola finally gracing the Premier League with his presence this season, we take a look back at the tactics and formations that have led other teams to glory in the top flight. First season, Man United, 92, 4-4-2. In the beginning, there was 4-4-2 and Manchester United were champions. Predominantly English players playing in an English system dominated the early days of the Premier League. A rigid bank of 4 defenders, who were principally picked to defend, sat in front of a midfield 4 that gave rise to the box-to-box men that would include the likes of Vieira, Gerrard and Keane. It may have been sneered at in later years, but good old-fashioned 4-4-2 did the job for Alex Ferguson, as his blend of older heads and young starlets swept up the lot in the 90s. By 2003, Arsene Wenger's Arsenal had tweaked the Premier League's tactical norm with devastating effect. Arsenal 2003-2004, 4-4-1-1. When an underachieving Dennis Bergkamp joined Arsenal from Inter Milan in 1995, little did the Highbury faithful know that he was going to transform not only their beloved Gunners, but the way the Premier League's finest approach formation and tactics. Everything went through the Dutchman, and Arsenal's modified 4-4-2 formation was adapted to become a 4-4-1-1 with one of the 2 strikers playing in the hole. The more creative player would drop into midfield and pick up the ball before distributing it to teammates or heading for goal himself. The one-man dropping back would enable space to open up for the striker to move into, as the defenders would be pulled out of position and wingers would tuck in. Bergkamp was one of the best players in this position, and Arsenal used this formation perfectly to secure a historic, unbeaten season. The next major shift came with the arrival of Jose Mourinho in 04-05 and his Makelele 4-3-3 formation. As more money flooded into the Premier League in the mid-2000s, as did a foreign influence on tactics. Jose Mourinho's Chelsea were the perfect example of the changing of the guard, as the Portuguese new style usurped Wenger's tweaking of 4-4-2. Incorporating Claude Makelele as an out-and-out holding midfielder and Didier Drogba as a lone striker, Mourinho enabled the tactical shift to the 4-3-3 formation, allowing strikers to play a more involved role for their sides where they could contribute in both creating and scoring goals. With Makelele sitting, other midfielders could push on, scoring and creating more chances than ever before. If I have a triangle in midfield, Claude Makelele behind and 2 others just in front, I will always have an advantage against a pure 4-4-2, where the central midfielders are side by side. Explain the special one. It starts with Makelele, who is between the lines. If nobody comes to him, he can see the whole pitch and has time. If he gets closed down, it means one of the 2 other central midfielders is open. 4-4-3 would go on to be adopted by several teams in the ensuing years, including Wayne Rooney's shift to the wing for Manchester United burdened with a surplus of strikers. In 2011, it was Novi Riche Man City's turn to change the tactical landscape. Man City 2011-2012, 4-2-3-1. Manchester City's resurgence mimicked Mourinho's formation to the greatest success. With David Silva pulling the strings at the base of the 3 attacking midfielders and 2 deeper players all cutting in behind the striker, City had creativity in droves, and it paid off. Unlike Bergkamp or Drogba, City had 3 midfielders creating chances and playing much narrower, nullifying the holding midfielder of the opposition. This meant lots of movement and lots of creativity and trophies for the blue half of Manchester for the first time in decades. And then, in 2015-16, Leicester brought Premier League tactics full circle. Leicester City 2015-2016, 4-4-2. Utilising strong midfielders, both playing in the Makelele role, and 2 pacey attackers and wide midfielders to create chances, last year's unlikely champions Leicester took us back to the start with 4-4-2. Stacking 8 behind the ball to stop the likes of City's 3 floating midfielders, allowing the 2 holding players to push up to impact the game, and catching teams on the break led Ranieri's men to glory. So, where does this leave Pep's Manchester City? Stubborn and persistent, Guardiola will insist that the Sky Blues play his way, and we've already seen that he wants his defenders to play it out from the back. A hint at inverted fullbacks in pre-season, and the Sunderland tie saw Bakary Sagna and Gael Clichy playing much of the game in midfield, and Fernandinho dropped into the back line to start the play. Chances were few and far between, but players have been quite quick to adapt to the Spaniards' methods, and with new players added to the squad, this could perhaps be the Premier League's latest tactical revolution that leads to silverware come May.